Hello, dear ones. Reverend Beth Simmons here, bringing you a midweek moment on this very warm day here in New Hampshire. And I wanted to talk to you today about immigrants and refugees. This coming Sunday, we are hosting a brunch church in place of our regular morning worship. So at 9:45, we'll gather in the vestry, which is the brick building next to the meeting house being the more churchy looking building. So the brick building next door, we'll gather for a meal and conversation, and we'll hear a presentation from a couple people of the immigrant and refugee support group of the New Hampshire Conference of the UCC. So our church is part of the denomination, United Church of Christ, and the conferences in the UCC are state or regional groups of churches. So this is from the New Hampshire Conference. Just want to explain that for the non-churchy or non-UCC folk out there. So we've got a couple people who are going to come talk about their work in the state. They work with families who are new to New Hampshire, who are coming from other places, and particularly with families who have someone who has been detained by ICE. And they also do things like accompany people to ICE check-ins. They work representing immigrants and refugees at the State House and sort of working for justice issues. Lots of good work that they're doing. Visiting folks who are in detention. So in our state, immigrants and refugees who have been detained, who put in detention, are in county jail, the prison, and so they are in that system and are treated as the other prisoners are, and so they work to raise money, to post bonds, and to put money on commissary cards and all kinds of stuff, which if you want to hear more about their work and the good work that they do, please come to our brunch church. Even if you've never been to our church, even if you're not a church person, if you're interested in these issues, you are welcome to join us for a meal and conversation and hearing about these things. But I wanted to talk a little bit about why this is even a thing for Christians, or why this is an important part of Christian practice. Because I think people get confused sometimes and think that it's not. I don't think all Christians really follow a biblical practice in regards to immigration and refugees. So foreigners are mentioned very often in the Bible. There are scriptures over and over again with instructions on how to treat foreign people in your land. And the instruction over and over again is to treat them justly, to take care of them. And one of the reasons given, particularly in the Hebrew scriptures, is because the Israelite people were once foreigners themselves. They were once foreign people in a foreign land. They were in Egypt. They were in a system of slavery. They were being mistreated. The Bible reminds them, you were there in that situation yourselves. Your people, your ancestors, your family were there. So you should treat them in the way that you wish you had been treated, in a just way. And honestly, we see this pattern of the people of God being immigrants, refugees, migrants over and over again. Even Jesus himself, we are told in Matthew, is part of a refugee family. King Herod, gets a little nervous about this new king who has been born and declares that all baby boys under age 2 are to be killed. And so Mary and Joseph take infant Jesus and they flee to Egypt, actually. Little connection there. And they don't return for quite a while. And so Jesus starts his life out as a refugee, seeking shelter and care in a land that is not of his people. And one of his most powerful teachings, which in my opinion is perhaps the most clear instruction for how to live as a follower of Jesus, which is also in Matthew 25. And Jesus is talking about sort of the end times and separating the sheep from the goats. Now, as a goat person, who has goats, who cares for goats, raises goats, I don't love that the goats are the cast in the negative light, but put that aside for a second. And he's separating them out, and to the sheep, he's praising them. He said, when I was hungry, you gave me food. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. When I was naked, you gave me clothes. When I was without shelter, you housed me. When I was a stranger, you welcomed me. When I was in jail, you visited me. And the people gathered to say, when? When did we do that? And Jesus says, anytime you did it to the least of one of my brothers and sisters, you did it to me. And so this is such a clear message of how we are to treat each other in the world. If we think Jesus is so wonderful and so holy and divine, then we are to treat everyone, and particularly those on what we would call the bottom of our hierarchical societies, those on the margins, those who are mistreated by others in society, those are the ones. How we treat them directly reflects, in Jesus' eyes, how we would be treating him. And so we should care for them as if Jesus himself. We welcome the stranger. We welcome them. This is one of those times where it seems a little bit ironic that many in the United States try to call us a Christian nation and say, oh, we're doing all these things, and as a Christian nation, we shouldn't be doing that. Okay, first of all, we're not a Christian nation, and we shouldn't be, and that's right there in the founding papers and tenets of our country, is that we are to be a country free from religion, or from an organized government-imposed religion. But if we were trying to be a Christian nation, one of the key tenets is that we welcome the foreigner, we welcome the stranger, and we treat them with equity and with mercy and with care. There's 3 categories that are often noted in the Bible as people who receive special treatment: the orphan, the widow, and the foreigner. Those 3. So, how we treat immigrants, how we treat refugees, how we treat the people showing up at our borders who have fled unimaginable situations. I was thinking recently, I saw a story about a woman who got to hug her son after 20 years. She left their country when he was 14, so freshman in high school equivalent in the U.S., to come to the U.S. to seek a better life, to get a job and work and send money back home to care for her family, to feed her children, to send them to school, because those things were not possible in their country of origin. And so she finally got to see him again. He was 34. I can't imagine my mom leaving when I was a teenager and not seeing her again until I was well into adult, like 20 years. But people do it all the time because they feel like that's the best choice. People risk their lives in the journey to come here. They risk being turned away. They risk persecution. They risk jail time when they are here. And still it seems better than what they are leaving. I can't imagine being faced with that decision and it makes perfect sense that as a person who calls herself a Christian and as a follower of Christ, that those people would be in God's sight as most deserving of tender care and mercy. And yes, special treatment. Because the world doesn't treat them as they should be treated. So, anyway, that's my little spiel for the day on immigrants and refugees and why it is appropriate in Christian faith and practice to give special care to immigrants and refugees. Again, if you are near Hancock, New Hampshire, anywhere, and can get to us for 9:45-ish on Sunday morning and would like to join us for brunch, you are heartily welcomed. You are hungry, we will feed you. You are thirsty, we will give you something to drink. If you are a stranger to us, we will welcome you with open arms, no strings attached. Come and visit us and hear about the wonderful work that the New Hampshire Conference, the UCC's Immigrant and Refugee Support Group, is doing to support immigrants and refugees and to make their lives a little bit better and a little bit easier. Darlings, have a wonderful week. And you'll be seeing a video if you catch this. There will be a video short posted soon with one final yard sale song. Our yard sale is Saturday, June 8th from 8 to noon, and I hope you will join us for that too. Make a whole weekend of it, coming to Hancock, and find some great deals on Saturday. Have a great meal on Sunday. Have a wonderful rest of your week, darlings.